I mean, the New Republic did exactly what the Old Republic did, and then was surprised when the First Order ended up with supporters. So today, we're going to continue our series on redesigning a successor to the New Republic that we call the Galactic Federal Republic. This is going to address the previous flaws of the old republics by actually establishing a federal military so that no one ends up supporting a first order because of lack of security or adopting a sketchy clone army that was secretly controlled by the Sith because they had no other option. This is going to balance the federal power with the planetary defense force power and local militia
You are
groups.
majorly overthinking this.
You underestimate my power.
Hello there.
So in this video, I'm going to go over some updates since last year's videos on our Federal Republic replacement for the New Republic. Now, in this video, we're going to continue focusing on the Army and other ground forces, including the law enforcement, but we're going to go over some of the changes since my longer form Army video, having distinct areas of control for the federal level and the planetary level, and some overlap. So in this case, having both a planetary defense force and militia allowed to kind of do their own thing, and a smaller federal government that focuses on training, intelligence, and special forces and disaster response is going to be the best option. Also, our three branches of government. Of course, the independent judiciary. We're going to keep the unicameral Senate just because there's too many planets to have another House of Representatives based on population. However, we are going to consider population when electing the chancellor. We're going to have the chancellor elected by individual planetary elections on a sliding population scale, but without an electoral college. The planets themselves vote. It's also important to make sure your military and your law enforcement is separate. The New Republic was so afraid of becoming militaristic that the Navy that it had been using for policing space, which most other factions in Star Wars had, they just neutered them instead of realizing they could have had a separate Navy from the law enforcement. Of course, the Empire wanted to do this because they're militaristic, but the New Republic really dropped the ball here. Also, we're going to include the Unified Defense Command. So I talked about training of the local planetary defense forces and militias. So this will be a federal agency that works on coordinating these groups together and focuses on training. Now, it can't force these groups to come together during war, but at least they'll have an optional consolidation and command structure. Now, along this same vein, we'll also include the Freedom Alliance, which will be a NATO-type alliance between the GFR and other governments and independent groups like the Jedi. So this will ensure mutual defense and same thing, optional consolidation of wartime, almost like a continuation of the Rebel Alliance instead of getting rid of it like the New Republic did. So first, of course, our branches, we're going to have the Army, the Starfighter Corps, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and some of our law enforcement branches, and then the System Guard, which is both military and law enforcement. For our ground forces, the Army, most of them are going to actually be Galactic Guard, which is my version of the National Guard. So they will be part-time and be under dual control of the planetary defense forces and federal governments. So the largest branch is actually going to be divided up with the planetary defense forces. So this will make everyone happy who is afraid of a large standing army. They're going to focus on line infantry, static defense, military police, engineering, disasters, and training of allies, planetary defense forces, and the militias. They also are going to include special forces along with the other branches. So their different units will have planetary support brigades, which are going to be like U.S. Army Security Force Assistance Brigades, and they're going to focus on the training and disaster recovery, etc. We'll have the Engineering Corps, which will provide infrastructure support, shelters, planetary defense things, and research and development, that type of thing. Our special forces, we're going to have the Rangers, which are going to be like the U.S. Army Rangers. They're going to be light infantry, fast mobile combat. They're going to have their own transportation. Then we'll have Spec Force are going to be Green Berets. They're going to focus on guerrilla warfare, counterinsurgency, etc. Commandos are going to be focused on our counterterrorism and hostage rescue. Now, our Starfighter Corps only has a couple of ground forces. This is going to be the Pathfinders, which are going to be attached to Marine or Army units, and they're going to be assisting in landing operations and fire support. Also, we're going to have Hyper Rescue, and these operators are going to rescue pilots in hostile environments and other stranded operators. like the pararescue. Now, the Marine Corps also has its own special forces, droppers. These are going to be shock troopers trained in shipboarding, raids, and sabotaging air defense. So they'll often be trained with jetpacks and airborne deployment, as well as zero-G fighting in close quarters in ships. Now, the Marines overall are going to be deployed in assault groups, which are going to be formed for small-scale planetary invasions, and it's going to be about a battalion-sized force of Marines. And we'll go over the ships and when we go over our Navy. Now, for our law enforcement, they're probably not going to use very militaristic vehicles, probably just small gunships and speeders, maybe some hyperdrive pursuit ships. And then for their ground forces, maybe we'll use something like a armored carrier or one of those first order assault walkers with a grappler arm, which would be perfect for a SWAT team. However, our federal law enforcement is going to be very limited in scope. We're going to have the Republic Marshals, which are our federal agents, and they have the most jurisdiction, but it's going to have to do with crimes on federal property, weapons of mass destruction, counterfeiting, threats to federal officials, and besides that, they can only assist locals when they're requested. Now, we'll also have the Federal Territory Police, and this is going to be federal territories that don't have local governments, like the base on Adelphi. There's no locals there, so that falls under federal control. We're also going to have Port Immigration and Customs Security, or PICS, which is going to be our combined Customs and Immigration Border Patrol type organization, and they're going to provide port authority on border worlds, and this is the only group that the military can assist in law enforcement. Now, of course, we'll keep our executive protection, so each government department agency has their own protection and security, so Senate commandos, judicial security, consular security, and the Marines helping protect embassies like the United States. Now, also, the Jedi are likely not going to be part of our army as an organization. They're probably going to continue to be separate from the Republic. Jedi can still join other areas of the government and have other jobs besides being Jedi, but we'll see. I think Rey's got it. So there you have it. This is the start of our well thought out New Republic military, and hopefully Mon Mothma and whoever is left of the Resistance and the New Republic actually decide to really think about their government and learn from the mistakes of the old and the New Republic. So in the next video, we're going to talk about our ground vehicles and our organization of these units.
Jake, you are majorly overthinking this.
You underestimate my power.
Hello there.